and welcome again to my show, Searching for Integrity. My name really is John Smith. I'm searching for people with integrity. Why? Because our country suffers from IDD, integrity deficit disorder. Today, we have our guest as Rico Rakowski. And Rico is an author. He has quite a background. I'm going to let him tell you about his background. I wouldn't want to spoil it. Other than that, we're going to send about that length I was telling you, and then I'll ask you if you just would like to pitch your book and where they can find it. And that's about it. So when you're ready, I'm ready.
Well, John, first of all, I'd like to say thank you for inviting me onto your show. It's quite an interesting topic, and searching for integrity. As a quick upfront, the title of my book is called Just Two Choices, and it's very interesting in terms of this bigger picture. As I went through a lot of your content, right. What's the difference between integrity and marketing? But as for my background is as an F-16 fighter pilot, and I come from a small coal mining town in Pennsylvania. It was my dream to fly. Guidance counselor told me that it wasn't something that I should be considering doing. I needed to go to junior college, but I just had such a passion for aviation and a passion for art that I decided to just keep pursuing it, and finally got into flight school for the Air Force and got to fly F-16s, and then was for over 20 years was captain for Southwest Airlines. And so what that leads into is that during this journey of wanting to reach my dream in aviation, I had to take a look at myself. I grew up with a lot of self-doubts. I grew up with a lot of lack of confidence kinds of things. And this idea of just two choices eventually evolved, where I said, well, I can either step into learning how to have more confidence in what I'm doing, or I can continue down the old path. And that's kind of what it led to the Just Two Choices situation. And obviously what contributed to it was that I was able to make it work, to be able to live my dream to fly. And so it's like, gee, what am I doing here? How did I actually make this happen in spite of what other people had been saying? And it was all because of choice, is right. What popped into my mind. So thank you for letting me have a little bit of an introduction here. And that evolved to the book, Just Two Choices. So I've worked a lot with kids on positive choice for many years. I have two other books on choice, positive choice. Dreams plus action equals reality is one thing I use for goal setting, for elementary school kids. Another one I wrote for the 100th anniversary of flight, which was Go Vertical, Life Has No Ceiling, where I looked at the dreams plus action equals reality formula and looked at the Wright brothers. So that's my background. Thank you for a couple of minutes to do that.
Sure. Now, didn't I run across mathematics in your background somewhere, somehow?
Not my strong point. Maybe that's where you read it. Yeah. Okay. Mathematics, not my strong point, but I know what it takes to get by, I guess. So.
Yes, it does. As I was listening to you, and I was thinking to myself, the words were, "Please, Mr. Custer, I don't want to go." So I've run into some of those in the past.
Yeah.
And one of the ones that I was looking at in here are I like the way that you have personalized each chapter. That's pretty neat. I like that a lot. And I got, and I'm a big Staubach fan, Roger. And And that's what it kind of got me stirred up. And then I began to look at more and more and more about every chapter. It has a unique name attached to it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take the first one, and Apollo 11 moon landing. And I thought, geez, that was May of 1969. And then I had just gotten back from Nam, and my fiance. I had to go. I was late to go, and it pressed me. Can you come in tonight or not? So it's one of these pests. So the negatives were all the military. You know what happens if you do that.
Yeah.
So I went on, and anyway, and I got there and watched the whole thing of this on the moon landing. That was really something. Do I have the right dates right? Is it May?
Well, it was July, I think, 1969.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's where I decided to go.
No, they had a mock-up for that in May of 1969. They got real close, and then that was the dress rehearsal for July. It's like we're going as close as we can go, and we're going to take what we learn here and give it to Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin and company, and they'll carry all the rest of the way. As Roger Staubach here.
Exactly. Now, chapter 1, the magic of seeing just two choices everywhere. Why did the landing fit into that?
The landing fits into that because of I'm sure everybody's heard of Aristotle, and Aristotle was probably one of the earliest philosophers to talk about that there are basically just two choices. Aristotle had the approach that you can't say that you're one thing and then say that you're something else at the same time. You've got to be one or the other. And so my take to that, when I had tied it to the Apollo moon landing, is what they developed as a result of that. NASA developed the go, no-go approach, right? Which is the same. It's just two choices. It's the same as Aristotle saying you can't be one thing and you can't be another at the same time. You have to be one or the other. You can't both land on the moon and not land on the moon at the same time. You're going to do one or the other. And then NASA, my approach, NASA ran with that and said it's go, no go. And so notice how it was all NASA missions have always been go or no go, up to the point where it's no go, they turn around and they come back, like Apollo 13. Right? But the mission's always, is it go or is it no go? Go or no go? We're still go. We're still go. We're still go. And then we go all the way to the moon, down to the moon, back up around the orbit of the moon and back to Earth. They were go the whole way. And so that's where the basis of that comes from. But it's really built into 2,000 years earlier. Yet, Aristotle saying the same thing, but he just didn't say go, no go.
Sure. That no go struck me this morning when I was listening to the news about Trump. They decided not to indict him.
Go, no go. It's all just two choices.
That's right. Exactly. Exactly is one of my favorite words.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm not that way.
Let me see. Choice, a powerful word that is often overlooked. Before I get into the table of contents, which I'm a freak, the contents freak.
Right.
So I usually, where is this? And I'm looking at every sentence. It's a choice survey. And that's the one that Roger came into.
Yeah. Yes.
And there's also binary thinking. There's all these things. And I see a map for every section, I guess, chapter. It's a map, and it's how you deal with those choices and have them on the map. Maybe you could sprinkle some detail on that for me.
Well, first with regard to the idea of creating a map or something that's visual, that's very much birthed in my back. And I just say it's birthed in my background as my background's in art and my background's in aviation. And so they're both very visual backgrounds. And so, in fact, I was going to art school. I got turned down at first for flight school. They didn't have a slot. And so I was on my way to art school. I was probably just a couple of weeks from going to art school. And I got, my parents got a phone call and said, "Hey, they got a slot for you. Do you want to go?" I said, "Heck yeah, I can always go back and do art later." But my point is that, I'm a very visual person. And so when it came to this idea, when I eventually started to understand, well, how is it that I'm making this work out in my life when, when my grades weren't the top of the class or anything like that. And, I was being recommended to go to junior high or junior college. How is it I was able to pull this off? And I had this idea, just two choices. And I'm going to show you this up on the screen, is that what I ended up doing was creating a visual. Let's see if I can get this thing to shine in. A visual diagram of just. There. So the blue arrow in the top represents moving in a positive direction, and the red arrow means, or let's just say the blue arrow moving upward means you're going toward your dream or your goal. So, and the other arrow means you're going back away from your dream or goal. And so that's what every chapter is based on. It's based on this idea, this diagram, that in every moment, every second, just like breathing, we can't escape breathing without a consequence, and we can't escape making choices. And so this is the graphic that's part of every activity in every chapter, is to help develop a visual understanding of where your choices are going to take you. Because choices, a picture's worth 1,000 words. And what most people might have heard, but visual graphics teach 60,000 times faster. And that's why in aviation, everything's lights and indicators, because you can get it instantly. And so I just boiled it down to this diagram, just two choices diagram. In every chapter.
That's certainly something to have with you at all times, I think, and what it's for, as the readers get to read it and practice it.
And we can talk about it later, but there'll be some free downloads of this diagram. And like this one particular says here, it says, if you're there's no such thing. To me, it's a kind of a contradiction in terms of saying I'm going to break a habit, when since there are only just two choices in every moment. If you just start making positive choices toward your new habit, your old habit has to go away. It's like if you don't water a plant, it's not going to live, right? So if you don't water a bad habit, it's not going to grow. So start watering your good habits. And so take the mystery out of it. Don't break an old habit. Just start a new habit, the one that you really want to achieve. And this visual diagram, I hope, would help people to get that image in their mind, instead of just using it as a concept of words.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one. Do you have others that you want to look at?
Well, I looked. We can apply them all to the just two choices diagram. And I'd looked at your at a lot of your material. I really liked it. And so you were talking about integrity, and at the top you talk about, are you a caring person or are you a selfish person? You talk about, are you a warm person or are you an icy person, right? Those are just two choices. You also mentioned that, are you open to new thoughts, which would be the upward direction, or are you closed? Are you closed tight to thoughts? And those are the kinds of things that, that you had talked about I'd read about on your content and stuff. So that's what came to mind. Do you admire somebody or do you not admire? Or a strong word would be hate. But, life is everywhere. It's a just two choices. Every moment's a just two choices moment. Every moment right now is a just two choices moment. Then you leak them all together and you got your life. So.
You reminded me of something. My daddy, who's not with us anymore, he had some mental problems, and goes way back to his choice making, and he basically just stopped. I can remember my mother, Johnny, go upstairs and get your daddy out of bed. And then and he just wouldn't do it. And finally, this went on and on and on. And he was a good man. And, But that was something, that's talk about a choice. You know, when your life, every morning your eyes are open, usually I'm thinking that things are going to be good, is what I say to myself.
Yeah.
And that was something, I don't know that I could do the drawings, but it's an idea.
Well, it's even when you come up with adversity such as overwhelm or frustration or PTSD,
Yes.
I admire it so much. Everybody who's and I've been through my share of overwhelm and frustration and in difficult situations, and for those who have a PTSD situation, you think about it, every moment is a very intense just two choices moment. Like every moment is, how do I keep going? How do I keep things moving? If I could add one thing from Star Wars, long time ago, Luke asked Yoda, and I think this applies to everybody for everything, whether you're trying to lose weight or frustration or get overwhelmed or there's anything cancer or anything you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
Luke said, "Is the dark side stronger?" And Yoda says, "No, it's quicker, it's easier, it's more seductive." And so I thought about that with regard to your background with the abyss. For some people who are, and for some people who have stepped into that world that you unknowingly stepped into, they stepped into it because it was quicker, it was easier, it was more seductive, and it's not that they didn't have another choice to make. It's a slippery slope going in that direction. Well, with regard to integrity. Go ahead.
Absolutely. You broke down the parts, part 1, part 2. 1 is simplicity, 2 is mastery, and 3 is freedom.
Yeah.
Do you weigh heavy on those?
Do I weigh heavy on those?
Yes.
Well, I think it kind of follows a pilot philosophy. Pilots like things simple. It's not that everybody doesn't, but I mean, in aviation, it's simplicity is safety for the most part. Because you can make a decision that fast, and it's an accurate decision that's helpful. And so simplicity is I think is the first, which is why I followed with the diagram.
Mm-hmm.
Something that people they're used to the word choice as a word and a process that's in their head, but they're not used to seeing it. And so simplicity is, look, this is all that it is. Every moment's just, it looks exactly like this. No matter what you're doing, do I swing at the next pitch or don't I? Roger Staubach, do I throw now or don't I? Or do I wait? It's all just two choice. And so simplicity. And then, as you're probably very aware, and probably a lot of the audience is aware, that they say that 10,000 times of doing something creates mastery. So the more that we can bring, and I noticed that you had talked about awareness and how in your material, there's awareness, and then there's an unknowingness. And so what I'm trying to do through the visual aspect is to bring this awareness that choice is, this is what a choice looks like. It's not just a concept in your head that you can get lost in. It's like a map of its own, and raise people's awareness that way. Because with awareness, and I'd love to hear your thought on this, on awareness. Now that you have awareness, now you can knowingly advance one way or the other. But it's another thing to be unknowingly advancing and finding out at the last minute you're in a difficult situation.
Yes,
what are your thoughts?
Yes, it was. And awareness for me basically came very early at the savings and loan. And it caused me to stay away from all the bad guys. I knew they were up to something, but they didn't want me in the rooms anyway. So I didn't want to be part of it. But then the tables changed. And then for the reason for all the others of the officers just swept into one big courtroom and to see who's going to do it and who's going to not. Who do we prosecute? Who do we let go? And it went to the very end for me. And I actually, the judge gave me probation. I had to think here. I had to think about what was a lie in front of me. I've been thinking about all the in back of me. But with this, it was an opportunity, and I basically went to work for the Justice Department and the FBI. And I was a 14 years I did that for them, with them. I was a witness for I can't tell you how many places, pieces, and peoples that were involved. And then one day, when it was over with, one of the chief agents called me up and said, "Hey, let's go to dinner." I said, "I don't have time for dinner. How about lunch?" He said, "Yeah, let's do lunch." So we met between Dallas and Fort Worth, and we sat down and ordered iced tea. And he said, "We want you." I've been in touch with our lawyers, all the agents that worked on Vernon Savings, and especially you. So we want you to know that we shouldn't have prosecuted you. And you could have struck me with lightning, with whatever you think in a situation like that. And so they say, we all got together and we all said to ourselves, he didn't do anything, but we used him because I was information, and I knew everything about a little bit, but only a large bit, very little. And I lived by that, and it worked for me. And the enemy became my friends because they felt that I was genuine and I was opportunity, and that I knew what there was. So anyway, I would probably wake up with another card. For me, this here's my page. Your table of contents right here.
Oh, wow. So what does mastery mean to you then?
Well, let's see. Mastery is maintaining your mastery. I haven't put that one together yet. I used integrity a lot, but mastery was that I could deal with all these people and all those things. And because it wasn't going to hurt me. I kept telling myself that when I looked at the card, I would say it was in my head. I had to think about what it was, and I conquered that because I'd get up and I'd know where I was going and what I was going to do. Am I going to do it or not? That type of thing. Every morning, every day, because everything became new every day.
Wow.
So. Anyway, that was, I look at, go ahead.
Oh, so you're saying that you saw this in spite of, I can't even imagine what the pressure must have been like, to be in that situation. You chose to continue on what was a positive path, a positive outcome, even though perhaps you couldn't necessarily see the light at the end of the tunnel, obviously. It would seem
That's correct. That's correct. Could not.
So, it's good. It's just, I use this symbol for those who are watching. I mean, it's take the peace sign and then turn it sideways. So you can always carry the just two choices with you, wherever you go. And you can say to somebody, "Hey, look, dude, just two choices. This is the positive, and this takes you closer to what you want. This takes you further away from what you want." Right. And so every moment is a just two choices moment. Now, some of them are bigger moments, like when you decided to help out. That was a big just two choices moment,
That's right.
But then there's always these smaller just two choices moments that propel you in one direction or the other.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, that's well explained. That was the thing that I looked at, and I would look to myself, and I would remind myself that God has helped me through this.
Yeah,
God helped me through this, and whatever is going to happen, it's going to be a good thing. And I took that and wore it every day with my hand on my heart, every day.
Wow. God bless you.
Well, we've got these. I wished I had something like this. Your book. Where was your book?
Wish I had it too. Took a long time to figure this stuff out for me. It's like, that's all that was,
No, it's still with me. And interesting thing though, the VA diagnosed me for PTSD. And even though I was in Nam, and there were some times that were serious, I wasn't infantry. But when I got back and when I got to this, I knew that it wasn't going to hurt me.
Yeah.
That's what I got from it, and it all turned out. But it's still a tough nut, and I'm still going through the PTSD.
Thank you for
3 years. 3 years now.
Thank you.
Somebody was telling me yesterday about that, and he was also a vet. And I guess it was something the war in the 90s, something like that, with Iraq and Iran and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, and when people today will sell that to me, and what I went through when I came back was that, especially on a college campus. I was a guy that nobody liked, and nobody, I didn't stopped anything that I wore in Vietnam because they would, because people would say they wanted to hit me, they wanted to yell at me, they wanted to spit at me on a number of occasions.
Wow.
And finally, I just said, just tell me welcome back. And that's a universal with all the other guys that came back. That's what they came to.
I'll tell you what, when it comes to what you're going through even now, I'm going to say welcome back. Welcome back to, we'll get ahead of it. We'll get ahead of this PTSD, and I say welcome back.
Yeah, maybe so.
No, maybe about coming your way.
I think that you need to tell my listeners where to go find your book, make it their book.
Well, you're very kind. You can go to just2choices.com, and this is what the book looks like. Let's see if I can get it to.
You back it up just a little bit, right there. That's good.
Just Two Choices. Go to just2choices.com, but they could save themselves some money. And I mean this genuinely from the heart. If they go to just2choices.com/radio, they can download the first chapter, and they can get a couple of these, 2 additional diagrams of this diagram that I have as activities for free. Just download it. That's all you need to know. You read chapter 1, you understand about no-go in life. And it's a quick 10 pages. It's got lots of graphics because, like I said, I'm a visual learner. I'm not a word-by-word reader. And that's the fastest way that you can get started. Just2choices.com with the number 2/radio. Just download the first chapter and a couple of activities for free and get started right away. Every moment's a just two choices moment. We don't have to wait till tomorrow or for another week. We can do it right here, right now by saying, you know what, I'm going to make that positive choice in the upward direction, and even if it's just a small one, but I'm going to get something going in that other one, because in that other direction, because like Einstein said, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So just take yourself out of the insanity game, make that positive choice up here, and change your life.
Well, I think you're going to find a lot of people that are going to, especially with this edition, the maps, and there's just too much that you want that you don't know that you want it yet. So go buy it anyway. How's that?
Well, that's very kind of you. And like I said, in my heart too, I just want people to get started, get on a new trajectory in life. And God bless you for all you've done and all that you've accomplished, and for your journey. Thank you for sharing it with me.
Sure. I've enjoyed this.
Same.
And I want to, let's see, get my audios ready. I want to tell my listeners, thanks very much. And I'm glad that you've tuned in again. And I play completely in terms of Rico Rakowski being our guest today. It's been quite a session. I enjoyed it very much. Thank you, listeners, again, and tuning into Searching for Integrity. So long, and happy trails to all.
Thank you,
until we meet again. Thank you. Bye.